Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Vornax and today we continue my Guild Wars 2 lore recap series, getting us ready for End of Dragons. In part 1, we covered the origins of our character, the orders of Tyria, as well as the rise of the Pact and the fall of Zaitan. Part 2, we looked at the lives of the Sylvari characters Kaith, Fowland, Wynn, Kanak and Ciara, aka Scarlet Briar. In part 3, we followed season 1 of the Living World up to the capture of Mai Trin. Here in part 4, we will finish the story of Scarlet's War. Needless to say, spoilers ahead. So let's tarry not and begin where we left off with the capture of the Aether Blade Captain Mai Trin, for which Inspector Ellen Keel had gained much recognition amongst the population of Lion's Arch and the Captain's Council. So much so that Captain Magnus, her former guardian, nominated her to take Ashford's vacant council seat, after gifting her, of course, Mai Trin's airship, granting Keel the needed moniker of captain to enter the running. Keel's opponent was Evan Nashblade, a prominent merchant and former Ash Legion soldier. The outcome could have gone either way, in all honesty. However, it was the leader of the nomadic Zephyrites, the Master of Peace, who opened up the field for both. You see, the Captain's Council had a long-courted and mercantile alliance with the Zephyrites, who traded with any and all from Krytan to Alona, even traversing the unending sea to Cantha thanks to their fleet of Sanctum airships. Now the alliance would be made, but the Master of Peace would only treat with one who held the hearts of their people. So the first general election in Lion Arch history followed, and a cutthroat and ruthless business it was too, but in the end Ellen Keel was victorious. As for the nomadic Zephyrites, their Sanctum ships would remain in the Bazaar of the Four Winds for many weeks, finalising the trade agreement and readying for their voyage. In fact, their entering into an alliance of any kind was almost unheard of. You see, the Zephyrites were and are the successors of the Brotherhood of the Dragon. In the days of Prophecies, the first game in the Guild Wars franchise, the players' adventures were shaped and guided by the Flame Seeker prophecies handed down to humanity by the Dragon Glint. My retelling of the Flame Seeker prophecies is linked here. If you have not played the original games, it's well worth a watch. But for our purposes here, all you need to know is that Glint was a free dragon and sought to protect all the races of Tyria from the dragon risings. In the days of old, the dwarves had protected her lair and guarded her secrets. In modern Tyria, that duty now fell to the Zephyrites. Even after her death, her legacy must be protected and upheld. And that is why the Zephyrites distance themselves from the trials and tribulations of the greater world. So this new alliance was remarkable, and more remarkable still was their acceptance of a new crew member, a young, soundless Sylvari named Aaron. But it's a little too soon in the series for that sad tale, and here we must return to Rox and Bram, to the Jubilee celebrations of Queen Jenna, the human ruler of Krytan. Her 10th Jubilee, in fact, to which Rox was forced to attend as a chart representative, with Braham in tow as her guest. Sadly, whatever respite the two enjoyed at these festivities was, well, all too brief, as the Queen's Jubilee was hijacked by none other than Scarlet herself, who seemed to have abandoned subtlety with her failures in Lion's Arch and opted for a more, direct approach in Divinity's Reach. You see, Scarlet was hell-bent on kidnapping and or killing Queen Jenna, with the aim of throwing the human kingdom into chaos. Now, she did succeed in planting bombs all over the human capital, and she also succeeded in turning the humans' Watch Night protectors against them, unleashing mindless carnage upon the last northern stronghold of humanity. Unfortunately for Mordemoth's champion, however, her attempts at regicide failed, thwarted by the collective efforts of Rock and Bram and numerous others, as well as the player character. She did, however, succeed in kidnapping the hapless dandy Lord Farron after introducing herself to the world at large. Everyone would remember her name, well, everyone who survived at least. And unfortunately for her, some present, specifically representatives from Rata's son, could put a different name to that face. Ciara of the Grove, student of the Norn Birgath, of the Char Asagi, and of Omad, headmaster of the College of Synergetics. Ciara, the bookish truth seeker, was now the head of armies. If you missed the early life of Scarlet Briar's alter ego Ciara, links to part 2 of my series below. So Scarlet's self-promoting debut backfired and led to a way of tracking her portals thanks to the researcher Vorp. So Scarlet's trail led us to the Twilight Arbor, where we found yet another Aetherblade base and our old mentor and Destiny's Edge Guild member Keith. Scarlet had been taunting her sister about a secret that even Fowlin did not know. You see, at this stage in the story, all this is a mystery to the player. We did not know that the Sylvari and the Pale Tree had been destined to serve the Elder Dragon Mordramoth. We did not know that the Pale Tree was a dragon champion and, like Glint, had been cleansed of Elder Dragon corruption. We did not understand that she protected her children from Mordramoth with her dream of dreams, shielding their minds from the Elder Dragon's control. We had no clue that any Sylvari who rejected the dream, like Ciara, like the Nightmare Core to embrace their darker nature, or even like the Soundless who cut themselves off from the collected cacophony of the hive mind of that dream, like Aaron, they were all vulnerable to the dragon's influence, even as it slumbered. We knew nothing of this. We suspected much, but Keith knew all this all too well. This is the secret Scarlet taunted her with, the secret that Keith would rather lose her life than reveal, the story of which I recounted in part 2 of the series, links below again. With the Twilight Arbor Aether base routed, our attention was drawn to Keswick Hills. The Order of Whispers, the Priory, the Vigil had all begun investigations across the region. Something was happening in the centre of Lake Manath, masked by magic, followed by a great increase in crate activity. Detective Marjory Delaqua was called to aid the investigation, along with her assistant, Kasmeer Meade, a renowned mesmer, with of course the player character in tow. In fact, Meade was and is a member of the Mesmer Collective, a reclusive group whose purpose is veiled in secrecy. Its members are said to be the most powerful practitioners of illusion magic in Tyria, and Kasmeer was a prominent affiliate. Her early life was, at least from the outside, idyllic. Born to a noble family in Divinity's Reach, the young Lady Kasmeer studied mesmatic magic, mastering it at an early age and winning her place in the exclusive collective. After her mother passed, however, life changed. Her brother lost himself to gambling in his grief, and soon they lost their home and their father too, who died in a debtor's prison, the father paying for the sins of the son. Homeless and heart-weary, Cass set about looking for a means to support herself. That is where Marjory Delaqua entered her life, offering Kasmeer work as her assistant. These two would eventually fall in love and build a life together. The investigation in Lake Vaneth was Kasmeer's first opportunity to show her new friend and employer what she was made of, and my goodness, did she prove herself. The complex illusion at the heart of the lake, after much scrutiny, was unravelled by Meade, revealing a towering and dilapidated edifice. As soon as the veil of their illusion magic was pierced, the Toxic Alliance struck. With us at their side, Kaz and Jury survived, but the entire region was plunged into a protracted conflict. Noxious gas poured from strange hallucinogenic flora that sprouted throughout the region as toxic Crate and Nightmare Sylvari guarded these bizarre growths. We would need reinforcements to push the Toxic Alliance back and storm the tower. Rux and Braham would answer our call, and together with Kasmeer and Jury, we would free Keswick Hills. This is the moment Dragon's Watch truly began, where the disparate lives of our heroes' companions converged. As our group assaulted the tower, its ramshackled exterior was revealed to be a facade hiding an enormous toxic vine tree known as the Tower of Nightmare. At its heart, a noxious seed festered. The Crate's vaunted prophet reborn was nothing but a chimera, a twisted union of Sylvari and Crate, manifest by the warped brilliance of Scarlet Briar. Even after the Tower of Nightmare was taken and the prophet chimera dispatched, its lingering effects would still plague Keswick Hills a decade later. Scarlet's armies had laid ruin to much of the northern lands, and evidence had emerged of her involvement in the Asuran Forma Nova disaster. This was our first hint at the true purpose of Scarlet's war. You see, Thorn Nova was a research facility studying Elder Dragon magic. Confusing reports of anomalies and strange Asuran-looking Magitech towers popping up across Tyria began to filter through to the player character, but before we could fully investigate, a new crisis erupted in Lorna's Pass. Enormous flying objects were sighted hauling giant Watch Knight marionettes. We could not ignore this threat to investigate strange towers. We had to face this threat head-on, and Rox, Bramkas, and Jury, we all became living marionettes as Scarlet joyously pulled our strings, and it was at this point in the story that a tiny Asura named Tiami inserted herself into our lives. The diminutive genius was obsessed with Scarlet Briar, but as some had positively hummed with rumours and gossip about the Sylvari savant. Her use of Asuran alchemical magical theory married with Norn craftsmanship and Char artillery was nothing short of revolutionary. Scarlet Briar had done extraordinary things. Terrible things, but extraordinary. Tiami, you see, was orphaned at birth and shortly after diagnosed with a degenerative, incurable disease. She was alone in the world. As soon as she was able, she enrolled in the College of Synergetics and eventually became the Gollemancer Zoja's apprentice. Gollemancy was her passion, and the golem she built, Scoffy, would become her protector and transportation, easing her suffering, allowing her a taste of freedom. During her college days too, she befriended another disabled student, Blish. Both took comfort in the other as they learnt to live with their incurable, life-shortening conditions. Goric, Blish's brother too, befriended Tiami and grew to care for her, but the three lost contact after graduation. With Blish's absence, Tiami latched onto the fantasy of befriending the mad genius Scarlet Briar. For all her brilliance, she was just 13, facing a short life of ill health, and was desperate to make real connections. So desperate, in fact, that she put herself in harm's way, in the path of twisted watch knights, aetherblade, bombs, enormous marionettes, just to get a glimpse of her idol. Fortunately for the brilliant teenager, Scoffy protected her throughout the ordeal. When the marionette was finally defeated, play character and her companions headed to Lion's Arch. Tiami too was escorted there by our old friend Logan Thackeray, distressed to see a child on the battlefield, but claiming Braham as her guardian, she evaded Logan's best efforts to send her back to Radisum. Shortly after that, the Aetherblade struck and Mitrin made her escape by a shimmering portal to the mist. Tiami, who had followed Braham into the heart of the action at the prison and the escape, well, she dashed through that portal after Trin, and Braham reluctantly followed. The fact that Karnak, still incarcerated by the Lion Guard, did not make his own escape at the same time marked a change in the Secondborn. A new path would open to him, a new life, a new destiny, a place as a trusted friend at the player's side. One day. For Braham and Tiami, that portal led to the edge of the mist. Unfortunately for them, they were unable to keep up with the Aetherblade contingent, and neither were stupid enough to try to enter the Aetherblade stronghold. In fact, the Lions' share of their time in the mist was spent in conversation, finding unexpected friendship. Shepherded home by a Vigil Sky Captain, Braham returned to Lion's Arch, but Tiami remained in the care of the Vigil for a time. Meanwhile, Jury Kaz and the player character had found one of Scarlet's hideouts in Lorna's Pass. From the journals and records found there, it was clear the Asuran tech peppered across the landscape were probes tracking leyline magic, the very lifeblood of Tyria, and Scarlet had pinpointed one location in particular, Lion's Arch. Scarlet intended a full-scale assault of the city. Jury Kaz and the player character rushed to the city, and we were able to convince Alan Keel an attack was imminent. The city needed to be evacuated, but the Captain's Council were unmoved. They believed that they had already thwarted Briar's plans. The combined might of the Molten and Toxic Alliance fell upon the city. Fire rained down from an armada of Aetherblade ships. As the sun set, the hulking form of the Breachmaker crashed into the harbour of Lion's Arch. Scarlet had taken the city. In a matter of days, every able-bodied fighter from Krytan, Ascalon to the Shiver Peaks and the Blood-Tide Coast marched on the city of Lion's Arch. The battle went on for days, and all the while Scarlet's breachmaker churned in the harbour with her aboard. Eventually, Captain Magnus ordered a Lion Guard contingent, including Ellen Keel, to take the breachmaker, and we and our allies joined their ranks. Keel was injured, and most of the Lion Guard was spent before they could reach Scarlet. It was down to us and our allies to finish it. And finish it we did. We managed to kill Scarlet Briar, but the breachmaker hit its mark before we could stop it. The first dragon champion of the age was dead, but she could rest easy knowing her war had been won. And ours? Ours had only just begun. If you enjoyed this meander down memory lane, please do like this video and subscribe for the next installation in the lore series, where we will dive into the story of the Heart of Thorns. Let me know if you would like to see the final assault of the Breachmaker reimagined in-game as a strike mission. I certainly would. And whilst you're down there typing furiously as to why that can and or cannot happen, please do show some love to Arthur, YU, Cody, Kildare, Cub, Molini, Jolly Joestar, Darkgriever, and all my wanderers, fantabulous Patreons, without whom I would be unable to dedicate the time and resources I do to my content creation. I could never thank you all enough. If you'd like to support the channel, links to my Patreon page are below, and if you feel inspired to jump into Guild Wars 2, there are referral links down there as well. Free-to-play game, the Path of Fire expansion, which includes all the content from the Heart of Thorns expansion, and you can pre-order End of Dragons as well. Using any of these referral links directly supports my channel, but costs you, my dear friend, not a penny more. But sadly, we have come to the end. So until we meet again, please stay safe, stay awesome, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.